Hello everyone, as with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful evening wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this. XRP whales control 28% of the supply. Is there a risk of power concentration? So where are the 65.81 billion circulating XRP? So top 6 categories. Now, I don't know why they put Ripple's escrow in here because that's not part of the circulating supply. That's part of the total supply. Whale cold storage, 28.1% or 28.1 billion XRP. The second largest category, and this is where it gets interesting. Large holders have parked more than a quarter of all XRP in cold wallets. This is a strong signal for long-term accumulation rather than short-term trading. That XRP is probably going to sit there for a very long period of time, because a lot of these whales know what XRP is capable of, and they're not going to sell just because the price goes to $8 or $9. They're waiting for much higher prices. Exchanges, 14.2%, 14.18 billion. Only 14.18 billion XRP remain on exchanges. This represents just 14% of the total supply. A year ago, the figure was significantly higher. The declining exchange holdings indicate that investors are withdrawing XRP from exchanges and transferring it to private wallets. Most of retail is never going to sell their XRP. I'm talking about retail investors that know what this cryptocurrency is capable of. Then there's individual holders, retail, 10.5%. That's 10.5 billion XRP. This category is growing steadily and showing genuine adoption beyond whales and institutions. The XRP ledger now sees almost 1 million daily transactions, many of them from individual holders. And then there's the founders, like Chris Larson. They hold 5.2% or 5.2 billion XRP. And then there's Ripple, operational, 4.7%. Ripple holds 4.7% outside of escrow for operational purposes, partnerships, providing liquidity to RippleNet customers, market making, and strategic investments. So when you look at the exchanges and you see that 14.18 billion, what do you think is going to happen when the ETF filers got to go to the exchanges? What do you think is going to happen when that's coupled with retail FOMO and we have more treasuries opening up and locking away more XRP as well? I'm telling you, scarcity is going to hit this cryptocurrency. It's just a matter of time. And then there's Flare. FXRP circulating supply hits all-time high of over 90 million. And remember, Flare wants to lock away 5% of the entire supply, 5 billion XRP. So as Flare continues to gain more and more momentum, more and more XRP is coming out of the circulating supply. I'm telling you, this, you could see it coming now. You know, everybody always talked about the burn rate years ago. They're like, XRP is never going to move because it burns so little XRP with these transactions. It's going to take 500 years. But I never looked at that burn rate taking us to scarcity at all. In fact, I was more looking at liquidity pools in the BIS white papers, where they're talking about countries and banks locking away large amounts of XRP and utilizing the token on a daily basis. Then there's this, more advancements coming for vaults for XRP. Buckle up. Doppler Finance, XRP Vault APR update, 3.3%. The latest yield distribution has been released, and this week's yield was approximately 3.3% APR, way better than the checking account. But this most likely comes with very little risk. 3.3% is what you want to see. You don't want to see 12 or 20% APR or even 10% or 8%, because that all comes with a lot of risk. But when you see an APR of 3.3%, it's like, okay, there's very minimal risk and I'm going to earn from my XRP. That's the way to look at it. Larry Fink ends World Economic Forum in Davos with a quote from Elon Musk. Take a listen to this.
And lastly, I just want to, because I thought it was so profound, I want to end this forum with a quote that Elon Musk said in closing yesterday's session, that it's better to be an optimist and wrong than being a pessimist who's right. So on that note, enjoy. See.
And I always look at things that way. I'm always optimistic, especially when it comes to crypto. If you know what XRP is capable of, you're always optimistic. Even on red days, you're like, well, it's most likely going to rebound by the end of the day. And if it doesn't rebound today, it's going to rebound tomorrow. And that's why these dips, they really don't bother me at all. I've been through way too many of them. I was through the beginning of the Rippleverse SEC case, where XRP really plummeted down. And everybody said XRP is dead. It's over for XRP. The SEC just ended Ripple and crypto as a whole. And I mean, XRP was getting delisted off of all the exchanges at the time, and everybody was panicking. And that's when I was buying, because I seen the blood in the streets and I said, this is the time to load up. All these people are going to end up being wrong in the end. And look at Ripple prevailed. XRP will never be a security. XRP Ledger Network Update. Activated accounts 7,535,801. And then it shows the circulating supply, escrow, and how much XRP was burned. But one thing I noticed is the wallet count. It keeps rising, and it's rising quickly now. So more people are getting into XRP now. And I know that number is scattered across maybe only half of that, like 3 million people or so. Because most people that hold XRP, they have multiple wallets. The whales, some of them probably have 50 plus wallets. But the one thing is for sure, the demand is there. New people are getting into XRP. There's people all the time. You see them on X. You could tell by the questions that they ask that they're new into crypto, that they just got here yesterday. And even if you got here an hour ago, you are not too late to XRP, because the price is still dirt cheap. Canary Capital CEO, XRP is essential for the next century of finance. Everybody's like, well, what happens once Ripple replaces Swift? Well, how long would Ripple then be used? Well, think about it like this. Swift is 50 plus years old, and it sucks. Nobody's happy with it. Anybody that uses it to send payments, they get frustrated with it very quick. Imagine having to get money from, say, the United States to the EU over a weekend and sitting there all weekend long wondering if that payment is going to show up on the other side come Monday morning. And if it's a holiday weekend, you get another 24 hours of wondering if that payment is going to show up. But one thing is for sure, once we move over to this new financial system, the difference is really going to be the fact that this is global. This is a system that's going to be utilized worldwide. And this time around, we're not leaving people behind. That's why Ripple is always trying to bank the unbanked. Same thing with Stellar. So the financial system is growing. actually into the new financial system at the same time. Who was Ripple's customers early on? Same thing with Stellar. It was always the unbanked. They figure if they could capture the unbanked, then they will capture everything else. And that was a good path to take. But this new financial system, you're not going to see another one in your lifetime. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. If you invest in this now, you're going to get life-changing money. You can easily build generational wealth. Regulation opens the door. Take a listen to CZ here.
Me personally, the banking industry, the securities industry, the regulations are highly developed, highly mature, and they are highly similar across countries. I know there are differences. This is probably a novice person looking at a problem in a very simplistic way. Whereas for crypto regulations, it's different, very different in every country right now. To be honest, Binance has 22, 23 licenses all around the world, but the majority of countries don't have licensing regimes today in the world. And we also see US is progressing very quickly, but it's in progress, right? So the market structure, the Clarity Bill, the market structure bill, the Genius was passed last year, so 6-7 months ago. So this is a in progress thing. We also see many other countries. UAE has adopted fairly forward regulations. Bahrain, Pakistan, Kenya, we're glad to be in the consultation process together with them, so that they at least talk to industry players. I'm a personal advisor to some of these governments, even though I'm not a regulation expert, but I just tell them from a market player perspective. Also, in this process, there's some key differences in countries' policies, especially when it comes to capital controls. Many countries, when you take money out of the country, they have a limit. Above that limit, that becomes money laundering or basically illegal, however you call it.
The one thing that he's telling you is that crypto regulations are so different going from country to country, and that's going to be a problem when it comes to cross-border payments. Because if you're trying to make a payment from the US to the EU, regulations have to be very similar. If they're too much different, that'll never work. And that's why a lot of these countries are now adopting MiCA-like regulations, because they know that they need to get this in place for cross-border payments to work. And even when it comes to crypto, you want regulations to be the same going from one country to another country to another country. This way, it levels the playing field for crypto. It's no longer outlawed in this country, or maybe in this country, they're very strict with the rules. That's why you have to have that in place to see mass adoption. And here's the latest on the market structure bill. Take a listen.
This is really an important priority, not only for President Trump, but for Republicans here in the House, where we've worked for 4 years on market structure legislation, and we've passed it twice. We passed it in the last Congress, my bill called Fit 21, and then this Congress, just last July, we passed the Clarity Act, which is what the Senate is debating. And the Clarity Act got 78 Democratic votes here in the House. We lay out the strict rules for market structure on how to treat a digital asset as a commodity or as a security, how you store it, how you can custody it, how it can be used for collateral, how banks will interact with digital assets. So it's a very important bill. You cannot pass a bill just for dollar-backed stable coins like the Genius Act that President Trump signed into law last year without market structure. It's like passing a bill authorizing cell phones, but there's no cell towers. So this bill is very important. I agree with the president, and I hope he can sign it soon. We're working with senators to get this text in good shape, listening to their ideas, their concerns, their changes they'd like to make, so that we can get a bill that the digital asset community and the traditional finance community can both support and get this on the president's desk.
But the banks, they're not going to go along with this unless they make sure that yield is cut from stable coins. And that's why I think this is going to continue to be a struggle. And the problem is, as long as this isn't put in place, the U.S. continues to lag behind the rest of the world. The 27th is the next meeting. Let's see what happens there. If they get this done, I know a lot of people think this is going to really pump their bags. But this could turn out to be a sell the news event at first, and then all of a sudden the institutional money starts flowing into this space and everything would rebound very quickly. But they have to get it done. Let's hope this works out this time around. And until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.